Beautiful. Everyone's muted.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Cosmic Conversations. I'm your host, Sheila Seppi, and I want to thank everyone for joining us. Each week, we bring you some of today's top speakers in the field of spirituality, conscious expansion, mysticism, and cosmic awareness. So if you are not already on our email list, please sign up at thegalacticalliance.org or on the consciousawakeningnetwork.org. Now, on the Galactic Alliance, you're going to be able to find all of our replays as well as on the Conscious Awakening Network YouTube. So please share all of these presentations with your friends and family and go back and watch them time and time again. So tonight, our guest is Edith Ubuntu Chan, and we're super excited to have her here. But before I bring her up, I also want to introduce this month's guest speaker or guest co-host, our good friend, Karen Swain. And Karen is a teacher of deliberate creation. She's a mentor and the host of ATP Media. So Karen, go ahead and let's come on up. I want everyone to say hello to you, and I will step off so that you can introduce Edith. So
hello. Sorry, lost you for about.
That's okay.
Hey, everybody. Great to see you all. Yes, I was just singing Dr. Edith Ubuntu Chan's praises to Sheila before she was online. So you missed that. You missed that, Edith. But yes, loving. Let me bring Edith up here. Loving to introduce you all to Dr. Edith Ubuntu Chan, who was on the show how many months ago on ATP Media? A couple of months ago now?
Yeah, maybe 3 months.
Maybe 3 months. And still, I tell you, I just, there are some guests I don't like to sort of pinpoint, but there are some that just stay with me. They just stay with me. The conversation, who you are, what you're doing in the world just sticks with me. And you're one of those people. So let me just read a little bit about Dr. Edith Ubuntu Chan, whose spiritual journey began at the age of 4. But in 2003, Edith had a series of meditation-induced mystical experiences, which we went into on the show. I don't know if you want to get into it now, but which were out of this world, literally, which changed her life forever. Her perception of human potential and possibilities expanded. And as she saw who we really are and can be when we remember our multidimensional spiritual nature, she since then has devoted her life to unlocking the secrets to our human potential, weaving together ancient wisdoms, Chinese medicine, Qigong, with new science and consciousness, medicine and spirituality. Today, Edith is a teacher of consciousness and human potential, a holistic medical doctor and author, coach, mama of 2, and creator of the groundbreaking Luminous Education Revolution. Couple of books. You've got Super Wellness Training for the New Humanity, and Luminous Kids. Is that out yet? It's upcoming. Is it?
It's upcoming. It's not out yet.
Still out. Still upcoming. Explores humanity's transition into the new paradigm of awakened living and focuses on the children and education, parenthood, and family life. And Edith writes, if for people who got the email, you would have read this, but a luminous revelation is currently underway. At the leading edge of this transformation, I want to cry when I read these words, honestly, because I feel it so strongly. Whew, a bit of a mess this morning. At transformation are the new luminous kids who have chosen to incarnate into this conscious families and communities all across the planet. They bring new codes, new ways of being, new paradigms of living, family life, and ultimately what it means to be human. Educating these new luminous kids comes with great gifts and unique challenges. They do not and cannot fit into old paradigms. Simply put, they are cosmic beings. They require a whole new approach to education and parenting. And you know what's really interesting? I was with a girlfriend yesterday who has a 21-year-old son who is one of those new kids. I mean, he's not a kid anymore. I was one of those kids, actually, and I'm not a kid anymore. But he, like my nephew, could not do 3D school, just couldn't do it, couldn't teach him to read or write. And he was told for his whole life that he was stupid, like my nephew. And so these two boys, they're both the same age, 21, who are intensely psychic. They're not in families that are into this stuff, like my brother and my girlfriend. And so they're trying to fit into the mainstream world, and they're struggling, but they are genius beings. Yeah. So they sort of missed the whole new education system. But please, Edith, take it away and tell us your story.
Well, these kinds of situations are simultaneously heartbreaking, and there's an aspect of my being that trust that, well, I went through those trials and tribulations myself, and maybe a lot of you guys did too, feeling like I say, how they say, don't try to fit a square peg in a round hole. But we're trying to fit like 5D, 6D, 7D pegs into 3D square holes. It's like utterly absurd. It's so absurd that I just have to laugh about it, because it's just beyond ridiculous what has happened on this planet. But that's actually the point, isn't it? That's why we came here. If we were to fit in, then we wouldn't be creating change. The whole point of us coming in here is that we feel awkward, and it's like, am I the only one that is seeing different things than what they're telling me? Am I going crazy? Raise your hand if you guys have been through that experience where, like, am I crazy, or am I seeing what I'm seeing? And then finally, gradually, it's like life has this perfect plan for us to feel like we're lone wolves holding a new frequency pattern of possibility, until now, this time that we're in, a time code has unlocked. It's time for us to stop this lone wolf thing. It's time for us to shine fully. We don't have to act like I'm the underdog and I don't know, maybe like kind of like tiptoeing around the issue. People are ready for the truth now. So a lot of the work that our community has to do is let go of that baggage, honestly. Do you feel like you have some trauma from being made fun of and from being told that you're crazy and all the things, right? So it's time for us to take a giant breath and just dissolve those old thinking patterns, because this is our time to shine right now. And this new generation of children, they really need us to hold the space for them. That, yeah, they are here to show us a new way of being human. And we're here to help advocate for these children so that education, family life, parenting paradigms, how we interact as human beings, our children have so much to teach us about all of it. It's not just about education and parenting, it's about a new way of being human, multidimensional, not purely cosmical, but grounded, stable, rooted, centered, also in the physical. So there's a lot that we have to learn from these new children. Oh, there's a little bit of background sounds, I think. Was that
okay? It was one of the participants, but I have everyone muted now. So you are good. Sorry about the interruption.
Great, no worries. So before I go into the slideshow presentations, I probably don't have enough time to show you all the slides that I want to share with you, but this is such a special group that I think just by sharing a few bits and pieces, we can channel in all the rest ourselves, basically. But it might be helpful to start with a fun little story, which is that in 2013, my husband and we were not planning to become parents at all, because, see if you relate to this, up until pretty recently, a lot of the parenting paradigms out there that we would see is either super tyrannical, sit down, shut up, do your homework, children should be seen and not heard. I have to laugh when I say these things, because if you meet my kids, try doing that to them. They'd be like, what are you talking about? It's just like, they would just laugh in your face, if you're like, sit down, shut up, and go to your room, you're grounded. I have two kids, they're 3.5 and 8.5. And one day my boy was like, Mama, what does it mean to be grounded? Is it like when you go outside and run around barefoot on bare earth? I like that. I like that. And I had to explain to him that some parents will punish their children by saying, you're locked up in your room, you can't play with your friends. And he went through this whole exercise of, well, which room? Okay, but that room has toys. And then when I'm tired of those toys, I would just break the door and come out. And then what are you going to do? You'd have a broken door, wouldn't you? Who wants that? And then I said, well, I don't know what I would do. He said, would you lock me into your office room? Because your office has your computer, it has books, it has lots of color pencils, it has all these fun things to play with. I'd have a lot of fun being locked in your office room. And then I would break either the window or door, and then you'd have multiple windows and doors broken. Just like he was just so not threatened by these ideas of being grounded, you know? So there's like that kind of paradigm. And then there's the overly permissive paradigm, because a lot of us are reacting to that tyrannical, you know, hierarchical, authoritarian kind of energy. And the flip side of it is like, let the kids be wild and free. But sometimes they're so wild and free that it's actually stressful for the kids. They don't have like a structure that they can lean into, so that it's like the yin yang balance. They have this powerful cosmic wisdom that needs a container to anchor fully into. So I had seen the two sides of that, and mostly the tyrannical style. And my husband and I were like, yeah, we're not made up to have kids. I don't think parenthood is really for us. It just does, that energy just didn't resonate, you know, we're the kind of people that if we go out to dinner with a group of friends, is always collaborative. Like, hey, Karen, what would you like? Are you gluten-free? Are you vegan? Or are you paleo? Let's pick a restaurant that works for you, works for me, works for everybody. But with parenthood, for some reason, there's like a dictator that is yelling at kids. And it's a very strange energy if you just look at the energy pattern of it. So we thought we weren't going to have children. In 2013, I went away to this dark room meditation retreat with Jasmuheen, actually, who Karen also knows quite well. And it was such a profoundly life-changing experience that when I came back to San Francisco from the darkroom retreat, I was so sensitive and so heightened in my intuition that I couldn't tolerate living in the city. So I dragged my husband. I said, I have to go move to the countryside because I can't tolerate, I can hear all of my neighbors' thoughts and it was too much, you know? So we moved to the countryside. And even though during the day, working with clients as a Chinese medicine practitioner was really helpful to have that intuition so heightened, at night, I just wanted to turn the noise down. It was like, just give me a break, please. There's too much information. So we moved to the countryside, little cottage, an acre of land, and I could just expand my energy field and be immersed in the fruit trees and the gardens and the nature. There was no 5G tower. There was no Wi-Fi hub except for ours, which we turned off when we weren't using. So as a spiritually aligned human being, I could fluff my energy field out and I felt so at ease. And when I meditated, I could drop in deeply and naturally. And when I went to sleep, I slept deeply and soundly and had beautiful, powerful dreams. These dreamscapes would be shown to me and the answers. You know how a lot of times you're not sure about something, you want some inner clarity. You can go to sleep and just say, okay, let it be shown to me. And boom, it would be shown to me at night because the energy was so pure living in the countryside. So it was in this state that this little boy started visiting saying, hello, bring, ding dong. He said, hey, I've been watching you guys for a long time and my time has come. I'd really like to be your son, please. And so I kept telling my husband and he's like, la, 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 I'm not ready. Northern California, San Francisco Bay Area is so expensive. I can't afford it. We can't do it. I don't know if I even want to be a parent ever, much less right now. We're not ready. So day after day, night after night, month after month, this boy kept visiting. And so I was like, okay, well, it's pretty fun for me, to go cosmic journeying and having these beautiful dreamscapes with this boy. And he started sharing with me, hey, we're entering into a time of very intense, rapid transformation on the planet. And there's this wave of babies that we have each, just like all souls always scours the cosmos and chooses so consciously when to go to which planet, which family to incarnate into. There was this one night in which he showed me this huge ocean of all these orbs of light. And he says, look at us. Every one of us have scoured the cosmos and chosen this time to come to Earth because we want to come and show you a new way of being human. We are going to blanket the Earth with a new energy, a new consciousness. And he said, look at each and every one of us, the exact calculation and permutation of the energy patterns, the precise timing, planetary alignment, geographic location of our incarnations is so precisely timed and coordinated. There's no way I can explain all those details to you. He says, but you have to trust that we've all coordinated this mass arrival of these babies. But because it's all interdependent and it's a free will universe. So you guys have the choice to choose not to conceive me. You have that choice. But just so you know exactly what you're choosing, he says, he disappeared the scene and he said, if I don't get conceived into your family at this time, we'll have to go back to the drawing board and figure out the next permutation that works for everybody because it's all interdependent, this entire web work. And as he was showing this to me, I was getting this whole energy meridian massage upgrade. I experienced my womb getting a light infusion. It was so many sensations. It was like almost unbearably blissful as he's explaining all of this to me. And he said, you guys have hesitations about becoming parents. And it's true. I agree. That's why I'm picking you to be my parents. Because this new generation of us that are coming to the planet now, all that old paradigm stuff is completely obsolete. We're not going to play that game at all. We have to show you a whole different way to do it. But we can't just show you in a meditation and a vision. We need actual bodies. So please conceive us so that we can come in and participate in your families and your community so that we can show you a new possibility. So as all of this is happening, this is after many months of us playing, going through cosmic travels, having these play dates. I just felt like he was already my buddy by then, by the time he really anchored in this vision. So I tell my husband all of this. And it was like, he was like, no pressure or anything, And so he's like, well, I guess I'll consider it, I guess. And so he's not really like into all this multidimensional cosmical stuff like I am, but he does take yoga class once in a while as an athlete to stretch his body out. So he was in a yoga class during Shavasana. At the end, he kind of half fell asleep and our boy visited with him. And that's when he was like, yeah, he's pretty cute. I guess so. And so we both became familiar with this energy signature. And so there was a certain day, a certain moment where we could feel his presence in the house. That whole time, by the way, when friends would come over, they'd be like, is there a baby in here? I feel like I can smell or feel a baby. We're like, no, there's no baby, but people could feel the energy. It was so palpable. And so we had this incredible experience of a conscious conception where we felt his presence and all three of us came together. And I felt this life that pulsed, these lungs that started breathing almost. Like in my womb space, I felt a pulsation of breath. And so I didn't need to take a pregnancy test. And it was an incredible experience of, wow, this is a possibility that I feel beyond words, so blessed to have this experience. And so he's already my buddy the entire time that pregnancy, all these decisions about medical care and diet and lifestyle, all these things that people read many books about. I also read some of the books, but as a holistic doctor, I had supported many pregnant mamas. So I had read a lot of books about like holistic natural health already. But with my own pregnancy, I discovered that actually the ideal nutritionist, the ideal lifestyle coach is already within. I just dialogue with the baby and we figure out what works for him and what works for me. And the entire journey of pregnancy was this very collaborative experience because we already had such a deep bond. He was already my buddy. So when he was born, I was like, oh, shoots, I don't know how to care for an infant, but I would just talk to him. And then it unfolded naturally and people would be like, oh, are you guys doing co-sleeping? And it's like, I guess that's what it's called. Why would I put my baby who used to be inside my body in a whole other room? I couldn't bring myself to do that. He's not comfortable with that. It's obvious that he's not ready for that. And there are these moments in which strangers come to you and they want to hold your baby because they're so darn cute, you know? And so you kind of like lean towards giving this the family member or the aunt and uncle the baby, and the baby communicates like, no, I'm not ready for that. So you would just listen to it, right? Because he was already my buddy. All these things that unfolded, people said, oh, you're doing rye parenting. You're talking to him like he's a sentient being. I'm like, well, you know, talking to him like he's a sentient being. How could he not be a sentient being? Like, you know, so there's all these things that simultaneously I feel so grateful that on the planet, there's the conscious parenting tools are more popular now. But there's a part of me that feels a bit of heartache that actually these are natural side effects when we have that soul to soul connection. These attachment parenting or conscious and aware parenting techniques, all these things unfold naturally as a side effect of knowing each other. You know, co-sleeping, attachment parenting, rye parenting, like nonviolent communication. These are all wonderful tools that I'm a big fan of in those moments where you've forgotten who you really are. But I would prefer that we as a collective humanity, we just start remembering who we actually are, remembering who our children actually are. All these things can happen harmoniously, easily, naturally as a side effect of relating to each other in this way. So as things unfolded, it was like, oh, he's almost 3 years old. Let's put him in the most holistic, natural preschool possible. So we put him in this preschool and I thought, let's transition him gently because I can feel that he was doing well at home, but I wanted him to have experiences with other kids, with holistically minded educators in the community. So we found this preschool that did 2 days a week only. You don't have to do 5 days to transition him. And it was organic, indoor, outdoor arts and crafts. They did gluten-free, they did paleo, they did all the things, you know. And he was like, he hesitated because he loved the arts and crafts. He loved the music. He loved the building project. But then they would go, ding, let's ring the bell. And we walk and they go do another activity at the music studio. And then bing, they would go over here and do story time. Bing, let's take a potty break. Everybody, all the kids line up and do the potty break. And then he started telling me, he said, Mama, I don't like it. This is by the time he's 4 now. I don't like it that why do I pee-pee and poo-poo when teacher says? I want to pee-pee and poo-poo when my body says pee-pee and poo-poo. Not when teacher says pee-pee and poo-poo. I want to eat snacks when my body says hungry, not when teacher says snack time. And he said that to me over and over and over again. And he's like, you very dense lady, are you listening to me? And so in his, we had this nice semi-telepathic relationship. And because of that, by the way, his language skills developed super late. So it was only until when he was 4 that he could speak these sentences fully to me. And he was basically saying, like, I love the arts and crafts. I love the building, but I don't move to other people's agendas and rhythms. I have my own agenda, my own rhythm. This is an assault to my soul to give away my sovereignty like this, to live based on somebody else's agenda. So he started kicking and screaming and making it impossible for us to drop him off at this wonderful preschool with wonderful teachers. So I was like, oh my gosh, I guess we'll have to try homeschooling. So we took him out and he started thriving and he was doing these amazing, I mean, I'm obviously a super proud mama, but incredible genius level engineering projects started unfolding out of him. The music, the arts and crafts, all these things that he was just thriving. And he's so clear when he eats. He says, I'm hungry for this, and he never overeats. He's tuned into these rhythms. And I realized after 2 decades as a holistic medicine doctor that by far the #1 secret sauce to people's healings that I've experienced in 20 years working with thousands of people, many with, quote, incurable medical conditions, the secret sauce to just about everybody's healing is to decide to come back, come home to ourselves, listen to our inner awareness. And so I spend a lot of my energy as a holistic medicine doctor and a coach helping people come back to their inner attunement and inner guidance system. I'm sure you guys do too. But the thing is, how did we get so lost and disconnected from that to begin with? Here, my 4-year-old is shaking me, saying, don't do that to me. This generation, we're not playing that game to lose ourselves and have to have a midlife crisis to come back to find ourselves. We're not wasting decades of our lives like this. We're not playing that game. And so I listened. And then he said, oh, by the way, I have a sister. My sister has to come now. And so we tuned in, communicated with her, and it was also a similar kind of tune in conscious conception, a one-time experience of people said, oh, you conceived in the first try. And it's not that, I guess so, but we weren't trying. We were just listening for the timing. So we didn't try to conceive. We never tried. It was like, baby, show us. When is your perfect timing? We are listening. We're listening. And we heard the sensation of her presence and she was conceived, So I feel so blessed that I think this story might be, some people say unusual, but as I start telling the story, more and more people are coming out of the work saying, oh yeah, I had a dream about my child too. Oh yeah, I knew it was the right time to conceive. A lot of people have these experiences. This is totally normal, actually. The other thing is abnormal. This whole being disconnected with ourselves, like losing our inner guidance system, giving our power away to external so-called experts above and beyond our own inner guidance system, that is highly weird and abnormal, actually. So I know I'm preaching to the choir in a group like this. And so now my boy, who has been doing self-directed, self-guided, interest-led learning throughout these last 4.5 years, one day he was like, Mama, with my lemonade stand, I feel like I'm pretty good at math. And he was at the farmer's market counting fruits and vegetables. And he was like pretty good at figuring out adding and subtracting to 20. So I would just give him money to buy the fruits and vegetables. Then he started doing his lemonade stand and fruit stands and hot chocolate stands. And one day, it was just before his 7th-year-old birthday. We went online to do some math to say, hey, you seem to be quite good at math. Let's do some math on the internet and see how you do. It turns out by just living life as a fully engaged, excited, alive 6-year-old, going to the market and interacting with the farmers, doing his lemonade stands, he had completely mastered all of 1st and 2nd grade math without any formal training. So that gave me, I know that this seems obvious maybe to like-minded communities, but for me as a mom, there's still this part of your programming that it's like, am I living too unconventional of a life? Am I going to ruin my child's life in the future? So that helped my nervous system to relax. Okay, here's a 6-year-old. He hasn't turned 7 yet, and he's getting 100% of every single unit of every single piece of math from 1st grade through 2nd grade. In 2 weeks, he did all of it. And so I'm like, good, we are on track. maybe we'll touch back into these curriculum things once in a while, just to make sure that we're not like, quote, falling way behind, even though I also am aware that all the kids learn at different paces. This one size fit all idea is totally absurd. Eventually, when they grow up, you do want them to be literate and numerate so that they can do life. But that's about it. Like, do you really need all this calculus and all this other stuff they teach you, So, but he was like, oh, this is so fun. It's like a video game. So he kept going, and now he's 8.5, going to be 9 soon. He's 8 and 9 months, and he's, as of yesterday, 35% done with 8th grade math. And he just does math like twice a week. And sometimes he says, Mama, my best time for doing math is different, because sometimes if it's easy, I can just do math when I'm like fresh, but sometimes I want it to be at the time when I can grab the information from space. So he says, maybe at sunset time, like 6 p.m. is really good because I'm not too sleepy and I can grab information from space. But in the mornings when I first woke up, like 8 or 9 a.m., I can grab information from space, but my mind is still a little sleepy. So if my physical mind has to do more work, that's not my best time. And then sometimes he likes to hang upside down or jump up and down as he's doing his math, because he's completely self-directed and there's no pressure for him to go faster than 8th grade math as an 8-year-old kid, right? Like, there's no way I'd put pressure for him to be faster than that. That he feels like it's kind of like just a video game. So you go to the store and the people at the store are like, oh, what grade are you in? And these kids are like, well, I don't know. When I play this video game, I'm on level 3. When I play the other video game, I'm on level 12. When I do math on Khan Academy, I'm doing grade 8. And when I'm doing the reading games, they tell me that I'm on grade 1, but I don't know. I guess my age is I'm supposed to be in 2nd grade. The kids are like, this whole idea of what grade level you're in school as some defining characteristic of who you are is so silly and comical to them. Likewise, when you ask these kids, what are you going to be when you grow up? They're like, I'm somebody now. What do you mean? What am I going to be when I grow up? One time we watched this documentary about these wise elders called The 13, about these 13 wisdom keeper elders. And so he's like, oh, that's what I'm going to say to all these silly people that ask me. So when people say, well, hey, kid, what are you going to be when you grow up? He's like, I'm going to be an elder. And you're like, oh, okay. Another funny thing, there's so many funny things that are so comical about this life. You go to the store and they're like, why aren't you in school? Shouldn't you be in school? And so sometimes we say, oh, we homeschool. But the problem is we're not at home and we're not at school. So this idea of calling it homeschool, that's why I call it luminous education. It's a paradigm of education for the new generation of luminous humans and luminous kids. So luminous education is my best attempt at saying, like, we're not homeschoolers. Like, we're not sitting at home doing little workbooks. We are living life. And to the degree that every once in a blue moon, we might do a workbook here, take an online course there to support us in living a rich, fulfilling life, we'll do it as is appropriate and aligned with our hearts, with our joys, with our passions, with what actually helps life work better. We're not doing like BS paper pushing just to jump through hoops. These kids are like, it's so absurd. What a giant waste of energy. I don't want to do that, So when people at the store say, hey kid, why aren't you in school? We might say, well, we are homeschoolers. We're learning all the time. Actually, we're in school right now. Thank you for being such a good teacher. So that's a way that we interact with the community so that we have the opportunity to help everybody see that, oh yeah, we don't learn seated at a little desk doing boring workbook. We're learning all the time. And in fact, something like that will help the person at the store realize, oh, right, I'm a teacher all the time. I need to take responsibility for the quality of energy I bring into this interaction. I'm right now educating this cute little child. So it kind of clicks the whole community into an orientation of life that is like, oh yeah, let's all of us bring our very best self to every interaction. Let's all of us orient to this understanding that we're always learning and growing and evolving and blossoming, everyone all the time. We don't have to go to some boring building that looks like a prison to do that, you know? Yeah, so that's my backstory of how that led to in 2020 with all the school closures, because I had been a human potential coach for many years and going on podcasts speaking about human potential and consciousness and so on. And people knew on the side that I had this unusual way of interacting with our children. People said, oh, can you teach us about homeschooling or unschooling or self-directed learning? So I started running some mastermind groups and putting together workshops and seminars and summits and gathering all these wonderful consciousness raising pioneers, human potential experts, as well as self-directed learning, interest-based learning experts to come together to distill this new paradigm of education that is actually arising in communities, conscious communities all across the planet right now. I'm sure you guys are aware of different pods, and people are trying to kind of piece together maybe a little bit of Waldorf, a little bit of project-based learning, a little bit of Montessori, a little bit of forest nature school. There's like this like wonderful movement that is happening. And because my background is as applied math student, and that was my undergrad degree in applied math, then I was an engineer and a software person, and then in Chinese medicine, a huge part of my training is about seeing big picture patterns, identifying patterns, and understanding patterns of energies at play. That's actually my gift. And in human design, I'm a mental projector, so I see big picture patterns. And so it just came to me, the comprehensive big picture of the new paradigm of education that is currently arising. And I'm sure you guys all have that experience when you tune into your highest self. You see beyond time and space, and you see the big picture into the next 40 years, 100 years, 200 years, and so on. Right. So luminous education is my effort to consolidate that entire comprehensive vision into articulating it in a way that is exciting, empowering, uplifting, so that we don't waste so much energy fighting the old system. Let's pour our energy in architecting, building, and nurturing this new paradigm that is already is inevitable. It has to come through our families right now, because these new kids, they're practically allergic to the old system. You know, how much Ritalin, how much forcefulness, how much artificial pressures is it going to take this ginormous expansive consciousness and squeeze them into this kind of low density experience? It's like the physics of it just seems impossible at this point. So why create all this unnecessary strife and struggle? Why don't we just allow the full expression and blossoming that these kids came here to show us, and allow them to up-level all of us at the same time, you know? So I have, should I pause, and would you like to comment before I share a few images?
Yeah, let's just go ahead with the images. This is amazing. Thank you so much for being here with us tonight.
Yay. Okay, so this is a presentation that if I went through every slide could potentially take a whole hour. So I will skip around a little bit and share a few highlights of my thoughts about this new paradigm of education that is arising in conscious communities all across the planet. I'm having conversations with groups in Europe, all across the United States, in Australia, in Asia, and in Canada, in Mexico, in Costa Rica. It's happening everywhere. So it's a beautiful time to be alive. And a lot of it is this arising of a new consciousness that makes every system have to change now. And so I'm sure you've heard these quotes. Albert Einstein, I think, supposedly said, no problem can be solved from the same level of consciousness that created it. We are evolving our consciousness, where from this consciousness, it just seems absurd, the old education paradigm. And at the same time, Bill Mollison has this wonderful quote that I love. He's considered the grandfather of permaculture. And he says, though the problems of the world are increasingly complex, the solutions remain embarrassingly simple. I love that. My approach to health and wellness is like that. My approach and orientation to education, I'm always noticing that the most beautiful solutions are most simple and elegant, but they're also very potent and powerful. The problems may look very complex from a lower consciousness perspective. As you level up your consciousness, you see like, oh, why are we struggling so much? It could be so simple and so elegant. And in the case of education, allowing our children to show us what works for them. That's simple. And throwing away the dogma and just being present with our kids, inviting them to show the full expression of their multidimensional nature while grounded, also practical in the physical life. Right? So one of the things that there's a Hopi quote that ends with, we are the ones we've been waiting for, that I'm sure you've heard. But another part of that quote says, the time of the lone wolf is over. Let me read that part, actually. It's very profound, very profound. Actually, I'll read the whole thing because it's so beautiful. You have been telling people that this is the 11th hour. Now you must go back and tell the people that this is the hour. And there are things to be considered. Where are you living? What are you doing? What are your relationships? Are you in right relation? And where is your water? Know your garden. It's time to speak your truth. Create your community and be good to each other. Do not look outside yourself for your leader. And then he clasped his hands, smiled, and said, this could be a good time. There's a river flowing now very fast, and it is so great and swift that there are those who will be afraid. They will try to hold on to the shore. They will feel they're being torn apart and will suffer greatly. Know that this river has its destination. The elders say we must let go of the shore, push off into the middle of the river, keep our eyes open and our heads above water. And I say, see who is in there with you and celebrate. At this time in history, we are to take, bless you. At this time in history, we are to take nothing personally, least of all ourselves. For the moment that we do, our spiritual growth and journey comes to a halt. The time of the lone wolf is over. Gather yourselves. Banish the word struggle from your attitude and your vocabulary. All that we do now must be done in a sacred manner and in celebration. We are the ones we've been waiting for. So, you know what? These children are really showing us they're so joyful, they're so pure. They are naturally already in this, not into struggle. They're already honoring and in celebration of life. So I feel that they are actually here to anchor in the proper energy and the proper consciousness for us to have the energetic architecture on top of which the so-called new earth can actually be built. Right? So they're here to bring in the energy matrix that we so need. We get stuck into what's the tool, what's the tactic, what's the strategy, but what is the energetic field that is supporting us to build these solutions? I feel that these children really are here to bring forth a lot of these, this essence, this quality of energy, and this consciousness. So in this slideshow, normally I take time to introduce myself, a little bit about my background as a Chinese medicine doctor, as a consciousness and human potential coach. I actually studied math and graduated with magna cum laude from Harvard. I went to a very interesting high school called Phillips Exeter Academy that had this thing called the Harkness method, where the kids actually taught each other discussion style. And I feel really blessed by that. Even though it was an interest-led, child-led, self-directed learning, this idea of respecting and honoring the kids to take the lead in the learning process was very profound in my formative years. And I also spent a lot of time as a competitive athlete, as a triathlon coach, and I've written my book, Super Wellness. I'm working on this current book, but the biggest education that is, the most important piece of my credential is the everyday lived experience of being with these two luminous kids that they blow my mind constantly. So I'm going to skip around a little bit here and talk about this new generation of luminous kids that I'm sure you guys have been interacting with. You're seeing them popping up like popcorn everywhere. And they look different. And those of you guys, many of you guys here are sensitive. You have your multidimensional vision turned on. So you can see that they radiate with a different light. These kids are highly intuitive, highly sensitive. They're awake and aware. Many of them, including my boy, starting at age 4, he started telling me, Mama, when I was in space before I jumped into your belly, and he remembers all this stuff about exactly how he planned his incarnation, when he jumped into my dream, how he was, he said there's this recycling machine and it can recycle dead people into fresh new space babies. And then once you come out as a fresh new space baby, you can decide which planet you want to go to next. And there are these caretakers that help you to look at what you want to do with your next cycle of life. And then he said, but you have been human before. I was a star before. This is my first time as a human. But I saw on the screen, I saw you on the screen. I thought, I love her. I want to be with her. And so I said, that one. And I jumped into your dreams and asked if you'll have me as a baby. And I was so happy when you heard me, And so all these things, like I hear more and more children out there that are remembering these pre-birth memories. They have a super strong inner compass, super strong. They don't do BS. They just smell right through the BS, these children. So you cannot like how much force, like in our case, our kid kicking and screaming, and we're like, it's a really nice holistic preschool, come on, let's go, and he's just like day after day, month after month. No, it's too much an assault on my integrity to be peeping and poo-pooing when they say it's potty time, to be eating snacks when I'm not hungry. That doesn't work for me, So I've started to actually see that these kids are here to bring a beautiful kind of congruence that we haven't seen before on the planet. The previous generations of us, we were willing to contort and distort ourselves to make things work. These kids, they're like, whoo, congruence all the way. I'm listening to what you say and what you do. Are those congruent? I'm listening for the energy and consciousness behind what you say and what you do. Are those congruent? For example, you might want to eat a healthy diet, but do you do it out of a rigid, militant, like dogmatic kind of energy? Or are you eating healthy and living a healthy lifestyle out of a space of joy and self-love and self-care because you want beautiful energy to experience all the adventures of life? Because you love yourself and you love this life. Is a very different energy. And so if the kids push back on us, I recommend that we see if there's still a pattern there where we're using kind of old energies, old patterns of dogmatic, pushy, rigid, tyrannical, that kind of energy, even though what we say and what we do is correct and true. But the kids are so sensitive to the consciousness and energy behind what we say and what we do. And then on top of that, because the veils are so thin, they're carrying this higher cosmic wisdom of how things could be and should be if we're fully aligned as multidimensional beings. So they're seeing if what you say, what you do, the energy and consciousness, what you do, how you relate with one another, are those congruent with the higher cosmic laws that they innately knows with every fiber of their being. They can feel something is off, and they can't tolerate those distorted patterns. So we have an opportunity. We can have a lot of conflict in our families, or we can create space and actually be humble enough to allow these children in an age-appropriate way to share their hearts and their souls with us, to let them guide us. Like, honey, what are you seeing? Tell me how this makes you feel. And then we get to up-level ourselves very quickly, break the old patterns that we wanted to break anyway. How many thousands of dollars of like different healing therapies have you been doing to break these old distorted patterns? And you just hang out with these Luminous Kids, they will break the patterns for you. So free healing medicines. And I often bringing in this Dr. David Hawkins map of consciousness, that I think a community like this, a lot of us are familiar with the map of consciousness. This idea that if you operate from guilt, shame, apathy, fear, these kinds of consciousnesses, is not a very powerful, empowered state. Dr. David Hawkins calls it force versus power. When you get to courage and beyond, you tip into what he calls power, because life starts supporting you and working for you. And then as you go up to this 500 level love, there's another tipping point where you get into this wonderful flow state where your life is dominated by synchronicity and flow. So many of us came to this planet from different dimensional experiences where we may have densified ourselves to the sub 200 levels just to kind of make it through surviving this very dense reality, and then doing tons of personal growth and spiritual growth work to kind of climb our way very gradually back out of this muck. These children, many of them are landing here at 500 or 600 already. So just to demonstrate, because this is not a linear scale, according to Dr. David Hawkins's research, he says that this scale of 1,000 is actually a logarithmic scale. So it's actually a giant leaps of orders of magnitudes as you go up. So 20 actually means 10 to the 20th power. 100 actually means 100, 10 to the 100th power. 200 would be 10 to the 200th power, because this is not a linear scale, but a logarithmic scale. One person who is around here at the 300-ish level is as powerful as 90,000 people who are sub 200. One person who is at 400, operating from reason, understanding, and so on, is as effective, as potent, as powerful as 400,000 individuals operating at these lower levels. Does that make sense? Because you're so congruent, you wield a lot of presence, potency, and power. Your actions are congruent and aligned, so your effectiveness in life is many orders of magnitude more efficacious, right? So one person at 500 is as powerful as 750,000 people who are sub 200. So let me ask you this, the old education system, like, was it 20 or 50 or 100? I don't know, different schools may be different. But the absurdity of taking a 500 or 600 consciousness being and stuffing them into a system that's built on this kind of consciousness. This is why I just start laughing at the absurdity of it. It's utterly not appropriate. You know, so later I have a slide that is like, if we keep trying to force these luminous kids with this giant expansive consciousness into the old paradigm, you will have a very predictable set of results of depression, anxiety, frustration, acting out, sadly, suicides even. These souls, is not in congruence and alignment with their true, authentic being. So why do they want to keep living in this reality system? It's like, get the hell out of here, go to a better reality system, right? But we have the opportunity to create beautiful environments for their learning and blossoming and growth, to in alignment with their divine purpose in this life, where we'll see creativity, fulfillment, inspiration, co-creation, innovation, joy, delight, beautiful new community solutions, a sense of aliveness, health, well-being, that these children are here to bring forth beautiful solutions that the planet so badly needs right now. So that's kind of what's on the line. And I'm kind of bouncing back and forth. A lot of these children are showing us different things. Like, here's my boy at age 5. He was like, oh, I saw a video about blindfold perception. So he took a little class, and then immediately he started reading blindfolded. And it was like, and we noticed a handful of other kids, they just kind of spontaneously activate into it. And he tells me, hey, mama, there's these bubble guys that visit me at night. And they show me, they talk to me with these symbols. And so he wrote this out for me. And then one day he was like, can you teach me how to bend a spoon? And so here's the first bend spoon. And this is his little sister that he said that he was like, my sister's still in space. She has to come now. And this is the little sister who's 3.5 now, but this was her the first week of life. And this is, a few months ago when he was going through 7th grade math. And this is him making his own report card because he was helping with folding laundry. I was like, honey, you're so good at folding laundry, A+. And he was like, I heard about A, B's, and C's. I saw that on a YouTube video. I was like, well, do you want to make yourself a report card? And he was like, okay. So here he is. He was like, I asked him, what are all the skills and subjects that you feel like should go on a report card? And he told me brushing teeth, getting sunshine, breathing, moving my body, sleeping and rest, drinking water, being happy and being kind, and taking care of myself and healing myself and listening to my body if I get sicky, sharing, cleaning up after myself, brushing my hair, B+. A B-, sorry. Making my bed, telling mama, baba, my baby, and Gaga is himself that I love you and I like you, folding laundry. And then somewhere in the bottom is math and reading and writing, which is actually congruent with when I coach groups of moms, dads, and educators who are open to this level of conversation. Many people jump right to a curriculum design, like, do you do Waldorf? Do you do this? Do you do that? Actually, there's a beautiful opportunity because the old system is breaking down right now for us to really align to the energy and the vision and the soulfulness that is possible by asking some of those deeper soul-searching questions like, who are we? What's the purpose of this life? How do we define success? What do we value? What is it to be a human? What's the whole point of education? And what is intelligence? Answer these kinds of questions, like really sit with these questions for days and days. And then as a side effect of it, we will arise into, oh yeah, intelligence is way beyond IQ or EQ, body awareness, energy intelligence, intuitive intelligence, spiritual intelligence, being street smart, creative intelligence, financial intelligence. So there's the practical and the multidimensional all at the same time. When we get clear, then we're not grasping at curriculums anymore. The curriculum arises as an expression of this deeper inner alignment of what it means to be human. And of course, to create a rich, fulfilling life, you're going to want to be literate and numerate, but you're also going to really honor like the new science and biology based on light, frequency, sound, consciousness, resonance, the new science of water, and so on. Looking at history and law from not just like the winners of the player of the war machine, but also multiple perspective and higher laws, natural laws, cosmic law, integrating all of that into how we conduct our activities in the physical reality and governance systems and so on. Qigong, breathwork, yoga, healthy lifestyle, forest, nature connection, growing food, practical stuff, gardening, permaculture, wilderness first aid, survival skills. It just becomes natural if you throw away any reference to the old system and just say, okay, as a cosmic anthropologist, you look at this human reality. What does it take to create a beautiful, rich, and fulfilling experience of this life? It unfolds very naturally that these are the sorts of things where you're like, oh, okay, this is what we want to cultivate in ourselves and in the next generation. Finance, business skills, entrepreneurships, the wise use of technology, the ability to build stuff and solve problems, and cultivating relationship, kindness, and communication skills. The sacred, healthy, wise use of sexual energy and conscious conception, that needs to not be so weird. That needs to be normal in this new reality that we're stepping into. Cultivating the right use of power, money, fame, sex. Practical project management, time management, organizational skill, getting things done, but also having fun with remote viewing, blindfold perception, spoon bending, telepathy, energy healing, conscious manifestation, all of it. The integration, the balance, the stabilization of ourselves as multidimensional beings, but 2 feet rooted in this plane so that we can really manifest beautiful practical solutions in this plane too. Sacred geometry, cosmology, astronomy, astrology, anthropology, world cultures, indigenous wisdom, rites of passage, mind mastery, consciousness, meditation, dream work, all these beautiful things. So when I invite groups of people to sit and contemplate this kind of soul-searching journey, looking at these questions, taking as many hours a day as it takes to go through these questions until this kind of list becomes a side effect of the deeper soul searching. Once you get to the stage, people are usually like, oh my goodness, walk away from the old paradigm. It doesn't even begin to scratch the surface of what is necessary to nurture the blossoming of this beautiful human possibility that is arising in our families and our children right now. So I hope that if you decide to go through this journey and really think through all of this, it helps you to anchor with deep confidence that there's a much more beautiful reality that the time has come for us to give birth to in our communities. So let's see. With that said, let's see if I have, if it interests you, if you go to luminousrevolution.com, I've put together my favorite visionary pioneers to have these deeper conversations. There's an 18-session soul-searching journey where we really sit in the different nuances and aspects of this conversation, of this new orientation to what it means to be human, and what does it mean in terms of our education paradigms and this transition that we're all going through. So many profound life-changing sessions within these 18 sessions. And yeah, my next phase is to complete the book and also build a new platform for the communities all across the planet. So many people I'm talking to, they're reinventing the wheel from scratch, but the time of the lone wolf is over. So part of my mission for this next few years is to create the possibility for all of these communities to come together and support and nurture each other and up-level each other. To do that, I will, I've really taken this project about as far as I can as one person. So I need to build a team around this project. So if this topic really is stirring some passion in your heart, please reach out to me at hello@dredithubuntu.com. And then for those of you that have some financial resources that you can support us in building the team to build this new paradigm solutions and this new platform for all the communities across the planet to come together. There is a donation page, luminousrevolution.com/partner, that you can go to see what we're up to, the next phase of what we're building, this new platform that we want to build in order to bring communities all across the planet together. So I'd love to connect more. Yeah. So thank you so much.
Amazing.
Wow. 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 That was amazing. I was so enamored when you were talking about the fact that when your son came to you and all the little luminous lights and how interdependent that they were upon each other, have all of those children met each other, and are they starting to come together, or did they come together as a united force and just spread out across the planet?
My understanding is that they are spread out across the planet, that it would be at different coordinated times when they come together to collaborate and co-create solutions as they get older,
Wow.
so that it was a very precisely orchestrated plan of anchoring this quality of energy in all the communities distributed all across the planet, because first is an energy game, right? The energy architecture, they're bringing in an energy and a consciousness. They're creating a field effect just by their presence. And then as they get older, these kids have chosen to incarnate into conscious families that will support them in nurturing their passions, their joys, and listening to their inner guidance system, so that these children won't waste so many years being lost and not sure what I'm supposed to do with my life. They're self-directed from the get-go, so they don't lose. They keep cultivating that inner compass, so it becomes really clear, that inner guidance system, when they're supposed to, create a business and collaborate and build solutions with other kids across the planet. And I'm part of my thinking is also influenced by our mutual colleague Penny Kelly, who wrote a book called The Robes, and she was shown a lot. She actually did 2 of the sessions out of the 18 in our Luminous Education program, where she spoke in detail about the visions that she was shown, where education and family life and village and community life evolves into, how the internet actually stays intact as we move into more community style, village type living, but we use the internet to collaborate and co-create solutions still all across the planet. So yeah,
that's amazing. My friends have a little 5-year-old boy, and they were telling, he's very, very special, and I'm sure he could have been one of those orbs, who knows. But one of the things that they shared with me recently, well, actually last night, was they had stopped their car or was out hiking doing something. Anyway, they came upon an area that had been destroyed by a fire. And he asked what had happened. They explained, and they were doing something else. And they looked over, and they said he had his hands out, and he was healing the land and trying to raise up the trees and call in, the light. And, we're running across more and more of these children on the planet who are bringing in this new energy, which should be our natural organic state energy, and helping to anchor it. So really, this is an extremely exciting time. And I am just enamored by all of the work that you're doing. It's absolutely, it's wonderful.
Yeah, there is a piece with new paradigm educators that I so appreciate. We're very thoughtful about holistic education, really on the body, mind, emotion, soul. Like Waldorf does a great job with that. At the same time, Steiner developed the entire Waldorf system at a very, very different time. So if he were alive today, he'd probably come up with a very different curriculum, a different system that is appropriate for these times. The good news is that he's not here, and maybe we're not supposed to follow any one expert's curriculum ever again. The time for that is past now, that we're entering into a time where each child shows to us and ask of us in a kind of spontaneous, dynamic, alive way. They ask for us to nurture their self-directed passions and joys. And as we come together as a community of each individual being self-directed, sovereign, tuned in and tapped into their inner joys and passions, how can we come together as a community? I call this the new learning villages of the future. It's not like a homeschool pod.
Right.
That's a transitional stage. A homeschool pod where a bunch of families come together and follow some agreed upon curriculum. That's actually a transition. Where we go in the future is where we come together and collaborate and co-create in a very dynamic and organic way. Moms, dads, educators, and kids all co-creating learning experiences together. And the modality of learning, people say, oh, project-based learning is the best. Oh, play-based learning is the best. Oh, nature school and forest school is the best. Well, they're all the best. Can we weave these together in a very coherent, thoughtful, conscious way? But most importantly, because these new children are so sensitive and aware of consciousness and energies, the most important is that environment has a field of energy. And the consciousness of the educators, the moms, dads, and collaborators in these learning environments, they have a consciousness, an essence, and a presence to them that is supportive of the kids' self-directed learning path. So I say, let's see, I have a list of learning modalities here I'd love to point out to the group.
I just want to interject here and just tell you there's been lots of chat and lots of comments, but I just got a comment from, a while ago, James, that says, yes, thank you, Karen, because I posted it in one of my groups on Facebook. Tears here as the new grandpa to my Montessori first son. So he's a new grandpa and he homeschooled, he Montessoried his kid, and so he was listening to you crying. I think that that's probably a lot of people listening who are parents and grandparents and future grandparents and all sorts.
Yeah, I wanted to bring up this little piece because people argue about, project-based learning is the best. I just really want to say there's a win-win here where it's all the best. If it can be woven together in a contextually appropriate way, where these kids are learning through contemplation and inquiry. They're doing play-based learning and project-based learning at the appropriate moment where the projects get stuck to a certain threshold. They say, oh, I got to read a book. I want to take a class. Or I want to do some didactic academic learning to support me in doing this awesome project. Then boom, they're unstoppable. And this is where you get an 8-year-old that's doing 8th grade math, for example. It sounds like I'm doing a braggy mom with that example, but there are so many examples like that. And I am bragging, I'm so darn proud, but I'm also in shock, honestly, because it took me 12 years to learn 12 years of math. It took our kid twice a week, once in a while, having fun to just zoom right through. And it turns out half his math he just channels from space, he says, oh, wow, it can be done in such a joyful, stress-free way. What else is possible?
Right.
We can learn at home, in school, in community classes, workshops. We can learn through apprenticeships, mentorships. A huge amount of learning is our kids are trying to figure out, how does this reality system work? So they're observing things and they might be talking to you about nothing, but if we can step back and really listen deeply, they're trying to tell us patterns of energies and patterns of dynamics at play in this Earth reality system that they find strange and curious. Those are such rich conversations when they debrief their daily experiences, and then reflections and helping them find the words to express what they're seeing, feeling, sensing. And then the learning through imagination and through dream time. How many of us in a group like this, we find that we go into dream time and we take classes and we download new information that guides us in starting a new business or creating a piece of art or even inventing a new piece of technology, right? Innovative people do this all day long. The school system would never say that that's a modality of learning, but that's how all creativity, innovation happens in that half-wake, half-dream state, channeling the higher dimensional guidance into the physical reality. It's time for us to stop pretending like that's not how it actually works, you know? Like education actually means the drawing out or the bringing out of hopefully the best of ourselves. So can we nurture and bring out this aspect of our human experience with this next generation? The huge piece is like honoring the insight and the intuition, the energy resonance, and realizing that maybe the number one aspect of the education experience is creating a field of energy and co-resonating with our kids so that it can support and facilitate the blossoming that they came here to experience. So I found it really helpful when I kind of like put all the dots together into one page, like, oh, these are all woven together in a contextually appropriate way. And all of these need to be honored and respected, not just didactic learning and not just project-based learning. I hope that gets some inspiration flowing for you guys also.
Awesome.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So should we take some questions?
Yes, absolutely.
Mary's waving.
Mary's got her hand up. All right, Mary.
Well, I'm so excited to meet you, and I can't wait to talk to you like tomorrow about all this. I went to a boarding school like yours did. My kids are 35 and 33, and I've been planting gardens, taking them, having them work. We've been to Machu Picchu. It is all about weaving together the imagination, the creativity. Yes, we're in a new dynamic. I've been doing that and we make the schools better. We help get involved. We listen to our children. We don't want to be trapped anymore, and we're not. I'm in San Francisco still. I brought my kids up here, but when Dad was at Princeton with Einstein, I grew up with people who had instilled in me, but there was still that dynamic. Our kids today are here to be listened to be loved, to be taught self-reliance, self-love, self-energy, because we are one big, massive energetic frequency. We know that. I just finished my second book last week called Interstellar Mavericks that I've been working on for 4 months. Missions to ignite future superheroes. Have fun doing projects at home, school, community. Help inspire children to become leaders themselves.
I love it.
That last book I did with Barbara, this is Create a Meditation Space. It's 24 pages. I'm meeting with somebody tomorrow to get this into the school system all through Northern California in public and private schools. I've taught 6 to 12-year-olds, as these guys know. I taught at the Academy of Art College. I went to art school, design school, architecture school, sustainability school. I've taught at the Academy of Art College. I have been teaching on the side my whole life to weave together the holistic Eastern Western medicine, all the things to allow my kids, our kids, all kids to wake up as who they are. And it's a blend to me, a hybrid of, yes, they need schools and they need systems. We need to listen to them because listening is caring. But this is how I broke down my book. Create a meditation space, find balance in your bedroom, practice yoga, plant a garden, connect to nature, learn about planting herbs and trying teas, create a future space leaders club, cymatic experiments, learning coding basics, invent a project for a better planet. When I worked at NASA, when my rocket scientist father, who went to Princeton and Northwestern, and his uncles, they said, why the hell did they hire you? And I said, well, you know, I am smart, I am creative, but I was born in the 50s, and women didn't count then. So I helped my children. Lizzie's a global community manager now, and she inspires people all over the world in education and philanthropy at Salesforce to be the best they can be. My son is 35. He did finance and golf in college, and he hated working at a bank. I said, well, do your volunteer job. He works at the Presidio Trust. You're planting trees for the future. Yeah. So we every day, I would love, let's do a book. These guys know this, but it's all about teaching them about healing ourselves, healing our planet. What can we do that interests us to make, to connect to nature, to be healthy? I'm an athlete too. I have degrees. Everything has always been about, I call it connecting inner and outer space, bringing the outdoors indoors. I've been teaching off planet for 10 or 15 years to hybrids. I have 2,600 hybrid children. I had my kids late because I didn't think I wanted to bring kids in, and I did it at the last minute. And I was 38 and 39, and I was older than most of everybody at school here. But because I wasn't ready to do that, and I thought, well, the only way I'm going to get into this is we have to change the school system. And I've worked on hospitals, Marin General Hospital, to create healthier, happier environments for all people. And these are suggestions. Start a future space club, start at home, get your parents involved, because they're going to be teaching us. We need to learn. I'm 72 and I'm just beginning cymatics. A couple of my friends' kids that I read this to said, "What the hell is that?" And I go, "Well, we all need to learn from our children."
I teach a little class called Luminous Kids class, and we've been doing all the following your curriculum without knowing it.
Right,
and all these same things.
And I just stopped everything the last 4 or 5 months because I thought, how do we design for a better planet? When my daughter worked at NASA after I did it, she worked there about 8 years ago, but she started at Salesforce. We used to do drawings down at Moffett Field, and I'd say, who's been to space? Who wants to go to space? Who wants to be an astronaut? And if I can work at NASA with dyslexia, post-traumatic stress disorder from being part of programs, and electric shock treatment, and sexual abuse when I was age 3 till 12, I've been off planet my whole life. I thought I was crazy my whole life, and I didn't fit into any school system, but I just became a hermit, and I just kept going. Good, better, best. I know I can get better. I know I'm going to make it. It was out of sheer willpower. And my parents taking me around the world. And even though they didn't talk to me, because people didn't talk.
Thank you, darling one, for sharing. Thank you for sharing.
Oh, sorry. I was getting, I got too excited, but I really look forward to connecting with you. And I didn't mean to hog the conversation, which I just,
there's a couple of
sorry.
And we're running out of time.
I'm really inspired, Dr. Edith. I'd love to connect with you.
I can see that Edith has lit you up, darling one.
I'm sorry. Thank you.
Please, let's stay connected. My email address is hello@dredithubuntu.com, and maybe Karen can post it somewhere. I would like to say my second child, when she came in, she just kept saying, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And she showed me the beings like you who anchored in the possibility. She said, I couldn't have incarnated on this planet a moment sooner because the energy had to transition to allow the next wave of us to come in. So thank you for anchoring these new possibilities as the first wave, super trailblazer pioneer. Thank you. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you, Mary.
Kathy, do you want to come up on camera?
Yeah, I have a question. And just before, I'll just tell you that I was born and raised in San Francisco. But I did not resonate there. After 22 years, I had to go. But my question is, do you have some thoughts on children that have autism? I have a granddaughter. She just turned 3, and I actually know why she has it, but her mother had other ideas from information that I gave her. And she's very, very intelligent, and she's a little behind in the speech, but she does pretty good, and she's very, very smart. But I just want to know your take on the children, that do have some of that, and any suggestions and help, and also anything you can also advise on.
Yeah, I don't claim to have specialized experience with this, but I do come from 20 years as a holistic medicine doctor, and I do see a big range of possibilities when these children who are very, very sensitive, they're sensitive energetically, but they're also sensitive chemically and physiologically in such a way that we really need to clean up their environments and help to detoxify and clean and nourish their bodies. And a lot of these multidimensional children, and as I expand and awaken, maybe you guys experience this too, you're processing a ginormous amount of data constantly as you open your intuitive gifts, and nutrition might need to change. you might notice that you need to hyperhydrate like crazy, that you need more B vitamins, that your diet evolves and shifts to accompany this new multidimensional physiology that you're holding. And so a lot of these children, the old ideas of nutrition just maybe don't work. And so there's some different thoughts about, I mean, I would work with a holistic pediatrics person that has more specialized experience with helping their physical vessel get as healthy as possible as the first step, and then decide after their bodies are as clean and healthy as possible, then decide if actually it was really truly their soul blueprint to experience themselves with what this reality would call a disability, but we all know is actually a profound genius and gift. Right. And that many of us are entering into being more semi-telepathic. And with these kids, that they don't speak in full sentences or different ways is actually here to give us the gift of realizing this gift that we all have of telepathy, of energy sensitivity, that that genius and intelligence comes in many forms. So I think there's that piece of the equation too.
It's definitely, I try. It's just that, I'm the grandmother. And so her mother, is a vegetarian. I do mostly whole food, plant-based. So I always make everything organic and healthy. And I know that is, the issue. And to help eliminate certain things, I can only make suggestions. And, it's hard when you're a child, but everything you're saying is what I'm trying to do. And I'm trying to tap in more, like you said, with the telepathy for, when I can have the contact with her. So thank you.
And also
I'm on the right track, but I'm trying to, I need to know how to present something maybe a little more. I try to do it subtly with the mother.
And also to what I shared for a moment there about these children are very sensitive to what you say, what you do, but the energy consciousness behind what you say, what you do.
Right.
And so there's an energy of conflict and disagreements that might be more it's tricky. It's like when it's family, it's always so tricky, isn't it? But if the kids are feeling into that conflict between two family members they love deeply, but they're in disagreement about lifestyle choices, that is maybe harder than anything else.
Oh no, I don't say anything. I rarely say anything, and I'm just, like I said, with what I do, I make sure that I bring things that I know that will, that are not the opposite of what I know will, be and
to do
harmful.
it and really check ourselves, really get still enough to check our energy and our motives, to be like, we're doing this out of just pure joy and celebrating good health. Instead, is it to check ourselves to see if we're bringing any residue of energy that creates a warring, conflicted energy, even if we don't say anything. I'm not saying you're doing that, but there's
right. I totally understand that. Yeah, I understand because I'm an empath, and so the sensitivity, and I've already seen that from the beginning with my granddaughter. So, so thank you. I just, I totally understand, and I do try to always, like I said, not really say anything anymore from the beginning, and do what I can to offer things that I know would be more helpful than harmful.
Yeah. And these
Thank
children,
you.
they incarnated into these interesting families for a reason, that they want to experience the contrast so that they can have clarity as they grow up and choosing more consciously from the buffet of choices that are being offered to them.
Right.
Exactly.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you.
Kristen, do you want to come on camera, honey one? Now I've lost you. Where did you go?
Where did she go?
Oh, I'm here. I
you
took my hand down, so maybe that messed it up.
There you go. Gotcha.
There you are.
Hello. I am in love with this conversation, but I have to say it gives me a lot of mom guilt because I raised my children age 27 to 18. I have 4 of them, but I'm not that much mom guilt. I'm kind of joking. The best that I could do at the time raising them is I did my very best to not let them lose their Peter Pan phase, if you guys know what I'm talking about. That magical phase that my kids were in when they seemed to be more conscious. And I think they've carried it through. But looking at all of your lists of everything that you have for all the different ways to teach kids. I mean, all 4 of my kids are brilliant to my standards, not necessarily to everybody's standards, but incredibly brilliant. And all of you that have multiple children know every single one of those kids is absolutely different. So, you know, you have to change for that. But you know, my kids are kind of grown. I think they were this in-between phase between the indigo children and stuff. They've had a lot of incredible experiences that have taught me a lot that aren't really, this isn't the format for. Karen knows, because she knows me a little well. But what I want to say most that I've picked up from this is that we really need to be educating the adults, like us grown-ups, from those that are having babies now to me that I may or may not hopefully soon get to be a grandmother and impart this wisdom too. But I mean, give me some hope that we can teach the adults, please. That's what I want.
Well, in my case, I reluctantly got dragged into this life. I mean, these kids are so clear, they're so aligned within themselves. So even though they're in little tiny bodies, their consciousnesses are so potent, so powerful.
Yeah, and the thing that I would, and I, sorry, I'm so sorry. But what I hope for is not just the kids that seem to stand out, because I have my oldest child was doing, you know, reading books on string theory and understanding them at age 10, right? And when they got to high school math, they kept getting failed because they couldn't show the work, because they didn't know how to do the work, because they just knew the answer, right? So I get it, but then there's these kids that are just average, but yet nobody's average. And they all have these luminous things. And so you have these beautiful luminous children, but you know, you may have one that is just very average. I don't know, that like it's all the other kids. And so what I feel like we need to do is train all the adults to just do this for everybody, because every one of us, even as an adult, is aligned and has light, and so do our children. And so I just have hope that we can educate all the grown-ups to watch for that for every child.
I know everywhere I go in communities like this, but just regular, normal 3D communities even, people are fed up with the old education system on every level. Like even just like regular, normal public school teachers, they're like, you know, most of this is just crowd control. I'm not nurturing nothing. I'm just making sure nobody hurts themselves and make sure that they just sit down and they go to recess, they eat their lunch and they don't break anything, and then send them home. And it's like not really the education that anybody feels like is really working for anybody.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that sometimes we get too hung up on this current moment in the human story, but the whole thing is unfolding very rapidly right now. I imagine the visions that I've been getting is that by 2030, that this idea of us having these beautiful children and then sending them to basically strangers would just seem inappropriate. Why would we do that? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday? Because the gift of COVID is that so many people shifted their way of working. So many people work from home with more fluid and flexible schedules. The 9 to 5 game is pretty much over for a lot of people. So it's like, well, I don't need that babysitting. And I don't really feel good about sending my kid to a building Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday anymore. That just doesn't feel right in my heart. And so a lot of the school systems are collapsing around here. I'm talking to all kinds of teachers and educators who are like, you know, I feel like I could build these really enriching science curriculums or fun projects, or like I want to start arts and crafts after school program. It's just popping up left and right all over. And people are feeling this inspiration in their hearts to share their unique offerings and gifts into the community. And I think that's going to coalesce into a new order out of seeming chaos, a new order will arise, what I'm calling these new luminous learning villages. So in my 18-session luminous program, there are 3 beautiful examples, but I know many, many more such examples of groups of families and educators coming together. There's a group down in Santa Cruz, for example, where they have, I think, 25 educators and 100 families, and this coordinated a la carte Monday through Friday. So if you want 5 days a week, they have offerings, but many people just a la carte and choose, mix and match the different educational experiences. And they have conventional school curriculum offer, but they have the crypto class, they have entrepreneur projects, they have these different like wonderful projects and sacred geometry class, and like ski trips, and lots of nature programs and farm programs and forest programs, and you can a la carte this together. I think this is the new model that is arising, where educators bring their best gifts, moms and dads come together and say, hey, we want a much more holistic, diverse set of offerings, but my kid does math really well at home. I don't need extra work there, or I need a lot of tutoring with math, but I also want them to do project-based learning. I want to a la carte these different experiences, and on the whole, everyone's like, 5 days a week is too much. We don't want to do that. We want the kids to have time at home to decompress and just be in their imagination without so much rigidity and structure. And that structure stuff, we just want to do 2 days a week or something like that. So in my case, right now, my child is doing a forest school every Tuesday, and we have a group of families that came together. Every Wednesday, we take over the local maker space. In my local area, public library system has a really wonderful maker space, and it's open from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and nobody's there until 3 p.m. So 10 to 3 every Wednesday are a bunch of families, all these quote homeschooling families. We're not home and we're not in school, but we call it ourselves homeschooling families. We go over there and take over the maker space and just do cool projects. So these kinds of programs are just popping up everywhere. I think we're going to rise into a wonderful, very dynamic experience of this fluid and flexible learning that is not 5 days a week, because very few people want that anymore.
Yeah, that gives me hope. Thank you. Thank you.
Kristen,
Kristen. Thank you so much.
You seem passionate about this subject. Maybe this is a call for you to start educating parents on how to communicate and relate and educate their luminous children, and maybe even get your kids involved. They, get them involved as teachers to educate parents, and maybe they can get involved.
Well, and without any opening to consciousness, just as a parent, I mean, I did my best, with my limited, just high school education that I had my whole life. But I'm a perpetual student, and I just, raised my kids as openly creative as I could. I realized when my oldest was 3 years old, I'm like, why am I buying coloring books? Things where they're coloring in the lines. I just got them notebooks that they could fill and draw and create their own lines, so that type of thinking. But still, I was raising them in, this little bit older paradigm, and I'm excited for the new. And it does seem like your conversation, Karen, I don't know if you remember a couple of years ago, Rachel in our group, and I had asked a question, and, she said that she could see a vision of a few of these children popping up in past years, but now it's like a wave.
Yes.
It's just like this wave, and I'm excited for it. But, it's just like the people around me, like, oh, we got to be doing this, so.
Get it happening, for. Go for it.
Okay, Karen, I'll just add it to the list.
Add it to the list. So, Sheila, we've been going for almost 2 hours.
Yes.
And you want to start wrapping it up? But the
conversation has been amazing. I really appreciate it. And Dr. Edith, can you tell people one more time where they can find you?
Yeah, so prior to all this education stuff, my main work is as a consciousness and human potential coach and also a Chinese medicine doctor. But this is now, Spirit is calling me to really focus on this topic for the next 5 to 10 years to help anchor in this new blueprint that is arising. I happen to have a gift of articulating the comprehensive picture of what we're all seeing with our own eyes, but people out there are very often trying to reinvent the wheel. And I think that we can quicken our path and stabilize into this new paradigm if we all help each other out. So my main website is dredithubuntu.com. From there, you can launch into all my various different projects. And then this education stuff is at luminousrevolution.com. So the thing is called luminouseducationrevolution.com. Luminouseducation.com was taken. That URL is some GoDaddy thing. So luminouserevolution.com is the URL. And I'd love to invite you into that world and have more continued conversations.
Beautiful. And as we close everything out, are there any final words that you'd like to leave for parents?
And grandparents.
And grandparents, absolutely.
And future grandparents.
Yeah, so just thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Our children, thank you. I thank you for having this level of consciousness, this ability to be sensitive and aware to all the dimensions of transition and transformation that's at play, and to help these children anchor in and stabilize and integrate this much more beautiful reality that is birthing through our communities right now. It's just from my heart, thank you for being part of this giant wave of beautiful change, and thank you for anchoring in this light that you have. You know, folks like Mary and many of you guys were really the first wave pioneers and trailblazers to open to this possibilities, and the enormous fortitude and guts and chutzpah that you had to be the weirdo of your generation. Like the physical, mental, emotional, spiritual fortitude that you had to anchor in these possibilities. Really, from my heart, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm all teary again. This subject really gets me, because I was one of those luminous children who didn't do 3D school and told I was dumb. And like now I'm in my 60s, Mary's in her 70s. We were like, we get it, right? We totally get it. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Edith and Ubuntu Chan. It's just been amazing, right, Sheila? Amazing.
Absolutely. It has been amazing. So I want to thank you for being our guest tonight. Karen, thank you for being my co-host tonight. I want to thank everyone who is watching, whether it's live or on replay. Thank you so much. If you would like to get involved with Dr. Edith, please get a hold of her. Offer your talents, skills, whatever it is. Sounds like you're open to suggestions. So, reach out. So everyone, thank you again. And until we are all back together again next week, namaste and much love. So good night, everybody. Thank you so much for being here.
Good night.